Hello, my name is Jordan, and today we're going to look at NIMBY Rails. A bit about me first. I play video games pretty regularly, mainly PC games and mainly in the strategy, building, and management genres, though I play plenty of other types of games as well. That said, NIMBY Rails is obviously in the building simulation category. And it's a really interesting game. I've been playing it for a couple of days now. And looking around YouTube, I've seen that there's some people doing Let's Plays, but it seems like there's not much information for new players. Everybody's kind of learning the game. And a lot of that has to do with the game that was only released into early access a few days ago. So it makes sense that everybody is trying to learn the mechanics and kind of how to conduct yourself throughout the game. A little bit about the channel. Don't bother subscribing. It's not going to be worth it. I don't have any plans to make any kind of regular videos. You're not going to see a schedule from me. I'll make videos when I feel like it. I'll make them about the topics I feel like making it about. Not all of them will be video games, I imagine. So it's probably not worth it for you to subscribe. I would save that and your valuable notification space for channels that will deliver you regular content, which this will not be. That said, let's jump in. So we're going to start a new game. I have downloaded a couple of modded trains off of the workshop and enable all these. There's not any particular rhyme or reason behind the ones I chose. They just looked interesting to me. Some of them I've never even tried before, so we'll see how that works out. Going back to settings, we're going to be starting in the North American Pacific Northwest. So in that spirit, we're going to name it Cascadia Rails. And of course, we're not starting with unlimited money. But as you'll soon see, getting virtually unlimited money is not a challenge. All right, so we're starting up here, but as you can see, we could start anywhere. This game is quite impressive in that it contains a map of the entire world, and it's fairly detailed. It's one of the reasons that the game is something like a 16 gigabyte download. So we're going to start here in Portland. This is a city I live in, so I'm very familiar with it. But it also offers a couple of opportunities and a couple of challenges that I think are actually very good for somebody who's just starting out. If we were to start, say, in the UK or France, there are a lot of well-established train corridors and rights of way. That makes it a little bit easier to lay down your track. And that's not going to be the case in the United States in a lot of places. There is quite a bit of freight track in the United States, but passenger track that actually connects large population centers is quite missing in the United States. And so that's going to present us with some challenges that are interesting to solve. But the spacing of major cities in the United States, particularly in the West, provides some very good opportunities since the willingness of passengers to pay in this game is directly dependent on the distance from point A to point B. So we're going to be able to make some quite lucrative train lines. Our first real moneymaker is going to be Portland to Seattle. But we're going to need more than our 1 billion starting in order to do that. So I'm going to pause and I'm going to go up here. Okay. So I have my, just a second here. Okay, so you can tell that this is the first time I've ever recorded a Let's Play because I actually had my HUD covering up part of the UI up here. I don't think it was visible on the video, but it was preventing me from clicking correctly. So as I was saying, the first thing that we're going to do, because we require much more than $1 billion, is we're going to go up here and we're going to take out another loan. Now there's two reasons we're going to do this. The first is that this is a 5-year 5% loan for $1 billion. There's several things that are inefficient about this loan. First of all, our monthly payment is much higher than it needs to be because it's a 5-year instead of a 10-year, which is the longest duration that you can choose. The APR is also higher, which means we'll be paying more in interest. And the amount is for $1 billion. You have a maximum of 3 loans, no matter how big or small the loans are. So this is poor utilization of our credit. There's no type of credit score implemented in the game right now, so it doesn't matter if you overborrow or anything like that. You get exactly 3 loans, and it makes sense to utilize them to the fullest. So the maximum loan size that you can take out is $3 billion. And you see for a 1-year loan, it's a 27% APR, which is horrific. So we're going to take this up to 10 years. Now we get down to 4.5%. As you can see, our monthly payment is $31 million. But our monthly payment on our $1 billion loan is 18, which is actually more than half our $3 billion loan. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to take this loan, we're going to go over here, and we're going to pay back this loan. So now we have this loan here, and this is our only loan. As soon as I unpause, this will clear up. So you can see. All right, so now we have 2 more loans available. Each of them can be for $3 billion. That's going to provide us quite a bit of runway to become profitable. Now, a monthly payment of $31 million is about $1 million a day or so in profit. That's going to be fairly easy for us to hit, even without spending anything close to our full amount. So let's go ahead and start. So we're going to start in Portland. As I said, this is where I live in this city. So I'm quite familiar with the layout here. Now, there's a couple of things that we're going to do that I think many of the other people that have been doing videos on this game haven't really done. And it makes sense why they haven't. This game is brand new. The mechanics aren't very obvious. It takes a little bit of trial and error. But what we're going to do, particularly with Portland, which does not have very good rail right-of-ways, by the way, what we're going to do is we're going to start with a subway. Now, this is quite expensive, and I think most people have kind of shied away from doing this. We're going to start with the subway, and we're going to lay a north-south subway and an east-west subway. So we're going to take this up to 350 meters. There we go. Tunnel, station platform. And we're going to triple this up. 350. 350. Okay. Now, why do we have 3 station platforms? As you can see up here, that alone, just this, is nearly $200 million, or about 10%. Well, about 7% of our money. So why are we doing this? There's a couple of reasons. First of all, we want it underground because now we can do this. With every other type of station platform, tram, ground, and viaduct, you cannot cross the station platforms in this way. However, you can with the tunnel. And the reason for that is that the game assumes that when tunnels cross, they are at different elevations under the ground. So when I do this east-west, directly across the tracks of the north-south, it doesn't complain at all. So that's going to give us a lot of ability to build a system that is, well, that makes sense. Now, these 350-meter platforms, why did I make them this length? So the main reason I made them 350 meters is these are going to be the intercity platforms. So I'm going to do 350 meters for all platforms that are intercity. I'm going to do 200 meters for all subway platforms that are within the city. And I might go as low as 100 meters for tram stations. We'll see. So first thing we're going to do here is we're going to, if you look at Portland with the population overlay, the main axis of the population in the city is east to west. There is some population concentration north to south, but the distance is much greater east to west. And as we'll see in this game, the distance that your passengers travel is one of the most critical aspects because it determines what they're willing to pay. So we're going to do a 200-meter platform east-west. Okay, it's a little bit center. Take this over here. Take this to here. There we go. So we have one east-west platform. What do we do? Take one up Lloyd, down to Gresham. No, we'll just do this one platform. Let's start small. Okay, so there's another reason to do these multi-platform stations like this. And you can't see it in the build area. If I click here on the station, I just get the control of the catchment area size, and I get control of the name. We're going to name this Portland City Center. But we don't get to see some of the other station details until we build the platforms. So actually, before we build any other platforms, we're just going to go ahead and build this. So now, if I go here and I click on Portland City Center, we get the actual information about the platform. We can see the reach. This matches what it was in the build menu. You can also see the rate that passengers accumulate, 1 packs per second. We can see kind of where they want to travel a little bit, kind of what their preferences are. And their satisfaction. But the thing that I'm looking at is this. So this number right here, the 0, is the number of passengers currently in the station. This number right here is the maximum number of passengers that the station can hold. What this means is that the station will stop generating new trips if this number becomes higher than this number. This can cause several issues. So first, we could have 2 different lines that are going to this station. And if one of those lines is more popular than the other, maybe because of where it's going to, the station could completely fill up with passengers for line 1 and not have space for all the passengers that want to use line 2. And this could make it appear that line 2 is actually a really poor line, when this may not actually be the case. Line 2 may have nearly as many passengers that want to use it as line 1, but you wouldn't know if you're running into your station maximum. So with a catchment area of 7,800 or so, 7,900, I definitely want this number to be much higher, especially if I'm going to use this as a transfer point. So, which I plan to. This is the city center. Everything's going to pivot around the city center here. I'm going to eventually do a north-south line for the subway as well. And that's going to end up going down to Milwaukee, Gladstone, then Oregon City, and going up towards Vancouver. This is Vancouver, Washington, by the way, not Vancouver, British Columbia. This is a much smaller town than Vancouver, British Columbia. So it's not really a mistake, but kind of the oversights that I've seen other Let's Plays do so far with this game is not paying attention to this. Trust me, this is going to be very important. All right, so I think I've adequately explained the importance of the station size. Every platform you add increases the maximum station size, and the length of the platforms determines how many passengers it adds. So these 350-meter platforms, each of them adds more than this 200-meter platform. So first, we're going to lay out the east-west subway. Each of these will be 200-meter platforms. And I already know what train I'm going to use, but this is going to actually kind of inform some of the things that we're going to do. So we're going to use these Type A Metro, 100 kilometer. So what this means is it has a top speed of 100 kilometers an hour. This is perfectly adequate for a subway system within a city. It doesn't really need to go faster than this within the city. The tram systems in the game are limited to 45 kilometers an hour, which is about 30 miles an hour. 100 kilometers an hour is about 60, 65, somewhere around there. So this is perfectly adequate within the city. But there's a couple of things that this informs. It's 157 meters for a five-car setup, and it's 179 for a 6-car setup. Now, 6 is the highest that you can go with these particular vehicles, and they hold quite a bit, 2,480. This is one of the ones that I got from the workshop. It is the Type A Metro 100 kilometer, if you want to pick it up. Change this to white because this just looks way, way better. So we don't need to purchase them now. But as I said, because we know that its max speed is 100, we don't actually need to worry about the track speed going under 100, which is extremely useful. So this first stop is going to be here in the Lloyd district. It's going to cover the Rose Quarter as well. So we're going to make a 200-meter platform going east-west. Okay. Well, that one named correctly. The next stop is going to be Hollywood. This is not, for you non-American viewers, this is not the Hollywood you're familiar with. This is just the name of a neighborhood here in Portland. Though at some point we might build down in Los Angeles as well. Then we're going to build one here around Hancock Park. Yeah, we'll build it right here. So this is Madison High School. It's one of the high schools here in Portland. It makes sense to have a subway relatively close to this. So build it again, a 200-meter platform, which we know will be fine for the trains that we want to use. All right. Now we want to go Parkrose Heights, Wilkes, Rockwood, then Gresham. All right. Because we're using subways, we don't have to worry too much about where we're building it. We don't have to find the right of ways or worry about crossing streets. This is all underground. All right. Now we want this. This will be the East County Courthouse. Yeah. And then downtown Gresham. Gresham City Hall. Come on. There we go. All right. Now, because, as I said, we know that the trains only go 100, we don't really need to put that much effort into keeping the tracks like this dropping down to 170. This is the speed limit, by the way. I have the speed overlay turned on. Moment, we'll get rid of that. So this is the speed limit that this section of track is limited to, 131. So this is still greater than the maximum speed of the trains we plan to use. So there's no problems. And this lets us be quite cavalier with how we're going to build out these particular stations and the track connecting them. And that's it. That is our eastward line done. All right, and now let's hit the west side. All right, so through the west side, there's actually multiple routes that we want to take. I think first we want to go through Sylvan. Okay, so we'll build through Arlington Heights up here. This is actually kind of, this is where the International Rose Test Garden is. It's really a quite lovely place. You get an amazing view of the entire city and the mountain, Mount Hood over in this direction over here. And there's something like 1,000 different species of rose. This is where they test how well new species of rose grow. So if there's somebody who creates a crossbreed of some kind, gets put here, and then they see if it works. Really a quite lovely place. It's also free to go to. There's no admittance, so if you ever visit, that's a wonderful place to go. So we'll drop one right here, 200. Another one in Sylvan, 200. Okay. We want a central Beaverton. Oh, 201. I just wouldn't be comfortable without fixing that. All right, and then I think what we'll do is Aloha, Witch Hazel, Newton, and Hillsboro. All right, so Aloha. You zoom in, you get finer control over length. Witch Hazel. This is this road right here. This is TV Highway, I think. I can't remember. It's been a long time since I've lived over on this side of town. All right, and then Hillsboro. You might want to set it up so that we can go on to Cornelius and Forest Grove later. So we'll run this one east to west. There's significant population areas up here that we might want to hit later, but we could probably do that with a tram. So we'll make this east-west, keeping with the line that we've built so far. There we go. All right. So first thing, we're going to connect. All right. It's here. It's here. There we go. Let's zoom in. 187, we're fine. That's a weird little bump. Straighten that out. Also a weird bump, so we'll straighten that out. Come up here to Sylvan. It's going to be a bit of a more more of a wiggle. Hmm. There we go. That's something a little smoother. And that's more for aesthetic reasons. As I mentioned, we don't have to worry too much about the speed. Cool. That is our entire east-west line. Now, in the actual city of Portland, we don't have a subway. We have a light rail system, which is represented in the game as trams. Our system goes quite a bit faster than 30 miles an hour at points, which is the limit of a tram station. But our right-of-ways are for our tram system. A lot of them are on the street, particularly through downtown. So I kind of, especially with the way the game mechanics work, it just makes more sense to build a subway system here. Now you'll see this number up here, 1.2 billion nearly. That looks scary, but don't worry. So let's name these stations. Hillsborough. This is Witch Hazel. This is Aloha. Central Beaverton. Sylvan. Arlington Heights. So we're going to name this. We're going to name this Washington Park. That's the name of the park right next to it. You can see right here. And generally speaking, locals use the name Washington Park or the Rose Test Garden or the Japanese Gardens. Those all generally refer to the same area when somebody's talking about the general area. So we'll just name it Washington Park, Portland City Center, Lloyd District, the Cipher Temple Medicine. That's quite amusing. Hollywood. Madison High School. All right, this we're going to name Park Rose Heights. This will be Wilkes, Rockwood, keep East County Courthouse, and Gresham City Hall. All right, that's it. So we will build all blueprints. Built. Let's turn it back to here. So now we're going to build our line. This will be, so I'm particularly in games like this, I can be a bit organized. So PDX is the city. This is the name of this is the 3-letter code for our airport, but it's commonly used in the city to refer to the city itself. So we have PDX. This is the city it's in. Subway, it's the type of line it is, and this will be Gresham, Hillsborough. Okay. So we're going to set for subways. We're going to have a standard of a $2 ticket price with a 25 cents per kilometer. And we will give this, a bit of a blue. There we go. All right. Now we're going to start it here from H. So we add our stations. Go back the other direction. All right, and finally head back to Portland City Center. Okay, so we have all our stations in place. What else do we need to do? Well, first we need to estimate the travel times. Now we know that every single bit of this line is at least 100 kilometers an hour, so we can actually set that as our ideal speed. Our trains will just always travel at that. Now there is some acceleration, so we might want to set it to 90, but no, we'll just keep it at 100. All right, now min stop time, 10 seconds is fine. Min interval. This is where it gets interesting. So we can see that the entire line, that's a whole loop around this line, is 135 kilometers, and it takes 1 hour and 25 minutes and 40 seconds to accomplish that. So this is just an estimate. It doesn't account, as I said, for starting and stopping, and kind of irregularities in how the game handles the simulation. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the train we want to put on this line. We're going to purchase one of them. We're going to put it on the line we just made. And then we're going to unpause. Now we're going to have some pretty angry people because we only have one train. There's going to be tons of people waiting. But what we're seeing here is how long does it take this one train to traverse the entire line? Don't worry about the fact that we're going to have angry passengers. We have plenty of money to burn through. And we have 2 more loans available if we really need it. Okay. Getting there. Loa, Witch Hazel, Hillsborough. Nearly there. All right, 1 hour and 36 minutes, 27 seconds, 47 seconds, 58. All right, we're starting to see some pretty consistent times, around 37. Yeah, so we'll just say 37:20. It's going up mainly because of loading times. Maybe we'll do 38. Let's let it get all the way through. See how well it handles this. Okay, coming back. $38, $52, $39, $39, $39, $40. Okay. 20, 28. So we're just gonna say that's it. We'll do 1 hour and 40. That'll be fine. 1 hour 40. Okay, so 1 hour 40 is 100 minutes, which is 6,000 seconds. So that makes the math incredibly easy. So suppose we want 10-minute intervals. 10-minute intervals are pretty good. So we set the min interval time to 10 minutes. Now, how many trains do we need to actually hit 10-minute intervals? Well, we need 10 of them. There's 100 minutes. We're doing 10-minute intervals, so it's just 100 minutes divided by 10 minutes equals 10. So we already have 1 train on the line. We need 9 more, and then we'll be set. Purchase 111. Make sure it's the right length. Yes. Purchase. All right. And now we're going to use the multi tool for this to make it go a little bit faster. So we assign all of them. We only have the 1 line, but that's okay. This line will turn a profit pretty reliably. I'm quite certain. All right, let's go back to here. Now all of them are going to start from that same station. That's fine. Our min intervals are going to back everything off correctly. So unpause. You can see it waiting for that 10-minute interval. Now you can see 10 minute, 10 minute, 10 minute. And very soon we will see 10 minutes, something close to a 10-minute interval at every single station. And that's what we're looking for. We want something that's very consistent. Makes it so that there's no section of the track that is preferenced as far as scheduling goes. The scheduling tools in this game at the moment are not quite adequate for the task of scheduling arrival times. They're okay for doing things like scheduling off times if you want your trains to be in depots so they aren't using up maintenance and so on. So we can see everything is just about 10 minutes. There's a 12, there's an 11, but that's acceptable. Okay, let's look at accounting. This line, change this over here to profit. So we can see right up here what our daily profit is on this line, and in the future, every other line. And if you switch in Steam, if you switch your game to the beta, then you get access to this. You see how the time goes? This is just much faster. We can see our money going up. Right now what it's doing is it is simulating at the maximum ability of my computer. So it eliminates the map, it eliminates the UI, it is just simulating the actual mechanics underneath the game. So we're going to do this for a couple of days, kind of get a feel for what this line looks like. This is a Thursday. We kind of want to see what it looks like on a Friday as well. So we'll simulate through the end of Friday, which will be end of Friday UTC, which will be about 1300 Saturday. Okay. Let's pause it. All right, so Monday we did 500,000, 500,000, 500,000, 500,000, 600,000. And Saturday we'll do much less. Sunday we'll also do much less. Okay. So what do we know from this? We have the one loan. Which has $31 million per month in minimum payments. This comes out to, well, in the month of February, which we started in, this comes out to something like 1.2 million per day or something like that. In an average month, a 30-day month, this is something like 900,000 about per day. Or excuse me, just barely over 1 million. So this is approximately half of how much money we need in order to cover our monthly payments on our loan. And we still have nearly half of our loan amount left. And we built a subway, which is the most expensive type of system to build. So as you can see, hitting our loan amounts is not going to be a challenge. The big challenge is going to be getting lines that allow us to actually make decent amounts of money. And for that, we're going to have to go longer distances. Now, there are two candidates. We could go Portland to Salem. Salem is the capital of Oregon, which is the state that Portland is in. Or we could go Portland to Seattle. Now, I happen to know from experience that the Portland to Salem line is much simpler to build. It's not just that it's a shorter line. It's also quite a bit simpler to build it due to the amount of stuff in the way. But the Seattle-Portland line can very easily turn something like $20 million in profit per day, doing just the same thing. We set for the longer distances, for an inner city line. See, for now, I'll just create these lines now because we know we're going to make them in the future. So we'll do inner city, West Coast local, and inner city, West Coast express. So we'll have one line that hits the little towns along the way. This is the West Coast local. And then we'll have the West Coast Express. It's only going to hit the major cities. It'll probably go Seattle, Portland, Eugene. Might skip Medford and go to Redding, Sacramento, Los Angeles. We might go Sacramento to San Jose. This stretch right here, San Jose to Los Angeles, right through here, this is kind of a pain. It's much easier to go up through the San Joaquin Valley. But we shall see. Yeah. I mean, this section, Medford, Medford to Redding, this is horrific to try and do. Actually through the mountains. This area right here, this is Shasta Mountain. And you can see the town around here, Mount Shasta. That's the actual mountain right there. And yes, this is Weed, California. If you've ever seen that picture online, this is the town that it's referring to. Yeah, that's a bit off, a bit in the future, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So don't have to worry about that quite yet. I think the first line we're going to do is Portland to Salem. But we'll do that the next time I do a video, whenever that is. As I said, I'm not going to keep any kind of schedule. So, don't look forward to it, I guess. Just, if you care, it'll happen eventually. All right. Thank you for watching. If you have questions or suggestions, please leave them as a comment below. I'm sure I'll read most of them eventually. I mean, given how few views this will get, I'm sure I'll read all of them eventually. But feel free to drop a comment. Let me know if there is something you want me to cover, or if there is a particular question you have about the game. I'm not any kind of expert, but I have gone through and kind of learned quite a bit so far. So we'll see how that goes. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.